Long story short, our 27 female started seeing Dave 44 3 years ago. I have 2 sons, tween and pre-tween, and he has 1 daughter, Anne, nearly adult. I booked a road trip for my sons and me roughly 3 months ago, a road trip consisting of roughly 26 hours worth of driving with stops in between. This is the first time I've ever been financially able to do much of anything with my children, so I went all out. I basically planned to stop at every place they'd ever asked me to go to. I was beyond excited to surprise them with this trip. We got home 4 nights ago. A week before leaving, Dave decides he wants to go with me and bring Anne as a bonding experience. We do not live together and Anne has never liked me because I'm boring. She said this to my face. So Dave thinks it will be good. I didn't want either of them to go, but thought, what the heck? Why not? This could be good for us. Boy, was I wrong. As soon as Anne got into my vehicle, she started complaining about absolutely everything. It was too crowded, too loud. We were taking too many stops. The boys were too annoying and need to quiet down and chill out. We get to hotel 9 hours in. It's around 3 p.m. at this point. Dave asks if he can take a drive with Anne because she's getting irritated with the kids. I told him he could if he made it quick because I needed to get dinner supplies. So 3 hours later, he shows back up. He and Anne went out to eat. So I commented, "You didn't think we wanted to eat too?" And Anne snaps back with, "I don't think we asked." After comments like this for days, I finally snapped. My boys are now saying they just want to go home because Dave told my kids to be quiet several times because of his kids' comfort. At this point, I haven't done anything with my kids because the Queen would have a fit if we pulled off anywhere, and Dave at this point refused to let me drive despite me arguing in my car. So I snapped, told him to pull the car over. When he finally did, I drove to the nearest car rental and told them to get the heck out of my car. Dave and Anne both start flipping out, and says she isn't gonna get in a car that has bed bugs. Dave said he didn't want to take separate vehicles and didn't have enough money for a rental because the Queen spent over $1,500 in 4 days. So I say, I don't believe I asked and take off. They were close to 800 miles from home. It took them 4 days to get home due to lack of money and needing to borrow. I'm being told I'm a selfish witch. Am I the idiot? I didn't even wait around to see if they were good because I didn't care at that point. The door closed and the red flag tossed out the window with his garbage for all I'm concerned. Not the idiot. Dave is 44 years old. He should be perfectly capable of getting himself and his daughter home, or he should just not make vacations miserable as a team with her. You dropped them at a car rental and not in the middle of nowhere, so whatever. And don't you dare get back with Dave. Did you and your boys end up having a good trip after the poison was out? There's a reason he's dating someone so much younger. No one his age would have tolerated that behavior as long as Op did. Op, please dump his sorry butt, and do not look back. He's not worth your time or energy if he cannot treat your children well and if his child cannot treat your much younger children well. I wonder what type of car they rented and how poorly they did it that it took them 4 days to get home, and they had to beg everyone for money. 800 miles in 4 days. On a highway situation, that's only like 12 to 13 hours of driving, unless they hit major traffic or construction, where they made no progress for hours and hours. Honestly, he probably struggled because the princess daughter forced him to rent an Escalade or something stupid expensive, a $100 plus piece of a rental, and insisted on a 5-star hotel and her own room. Not the idiot, Op, but why it took you 4 days to drop them off is beyond me. The first sign of anyone being nasty to my boys, and they are gone. I hope you break up with that dude and her spawn from down below. You owe it to your kids, as this situation won't get any better. Do you really want to keep having that nasty girl in your life? You. Oh, I did break up. My boys had an absolute blast the second they were dropped off. We even took a few extra days longer. It was fantastic without them. After waiting for 5 years, I finally got pregnant with my son. There was so much fuss about the name because my in-laws wanted to use my deceased brother-in-law's name. My husband sided with them and insisted we go with it, but I refused, seeing their obsession with it. My husband then sat with me, and we agreed on name we both chose. When I was at the hospital, I dealt with some complications, and I had to extend my stay since I had to get a blood transfusion as well. My husband handled the paperwork. However, when we received the birth certificate, I discovered that he put brother-in-law's name, not the one we picked. I lost it and had a breakdown, then I shut down completely. I stopped talking to him after telling him that I won't speak to him till he changed the name. He kept saying good riddance at first, but slowly started complaining about how my son's silence had been wearing him down. Days went by. He's now turned to full-on begging me to speak to him over and over. He said he had to do this, otherwise his family was gonna shun him. He handed me a paper with all the pros of keeping this name, explaining that our son would be the golden grandchild, and my in-laws would favor him over the other grandchildren because of his name. He said he would get endless privileges like a college fund, car, inheritance, and will be loved unconditionally because he has his uncle's name. But I don't want my son to be brother-in-law's surrogate. It's sad also because my husband's always sought his family's approval, but brother-in-law was the favorite. He offered me endless nicknames, second middle name choices, but I wasn't having it. Eventually, broke down and cried last night, calling me stubborn, difficult, and selfish. He said I was robbing our son of a good life and good future provided by his grandparents and said I was driving him crazy with my silence. But I feel like this is too serious to let go. I'm just doing it for my son. Am I wrong for choosing this as my hill to die on? Not the idiot. If you have more children, how will they feel watching their brother be the favorite because of his name? Put a stop to this now. Is there any way for you to change the certificate? Why does your husband have to be the one to change it? This, if he grew up with said brother who was the favorite child, why is he knowingly willing to put your other future children through the same favoritism that he was on the negative side of? I wouldn't have more children with this guy. I'm sorry, I piece of work. Heck, I don't even care that he's crying and begging. He's still thinking about himself. If he wants to be his family's whipping boy, he can be one alone. Not the idiot. Name choices require 2 yeses. One no from either side is enough to end a name's consideration. Your husband has zero respect for you. At the same time, you had just given birth to his child and had a medical emergency. How are you ever going to trust him again? He's showing zero love for you. The silent treatment is clearly not enough. You should strongly consider talking to a divorce lawyer because he clearly hasn't seen the error of his way. Make the silent treatment legally binding. The husband prioritizes his own need for approval over his son's well-being. Forcing their son into the golden child position can be just as psychologically damaging as negative attention. Combine this with him intentionally using a medical emergency to go behind her back and overrule her. Op's husband is a selfish idiot. I have 2 daughters, Essie Mae, young child, and Dolly, tween. Dolly has become really interested in pulling jokes on people. For the most part, this has been a non-issue. We had the whole, it's only okay if it makes everyone laugh, not just you talk, and if her jokes were innocent. For example, switching chunk of Essie Mae's mid-back length hair while she was sleeping right at the scalp. Dolly showed no remorse for this. I'm a hairdresser and tried everything to see if I could camouflage the bald spot, but it was such a big patch that we had no choice but to buzz the rest of Essie Mae's hair off. Essie Mae reasonably was distraught and sobbed for days and refused to leave the house. My husband and I agreed that Dolly knew exactly what she was doing and did it specifically to be cruel to Essie Mae. We told Dolly that since she took so much away from Essie Mae, it was only fair that she had something of equal value taken away. We told her that she could choose to either have her iPad, computer, TV, and American Girl doll privileges taken away until Essie Mae's hair grew to around pixie cut length, or she could get a large portion of her hair, which was past her butt, cut off. Dolly reluctantly chose to cut her hair. I sat her down in front of the mirror and told her that since she was so okay with cutting her sister's hair, she'd be the one cutting her hair. She started screaming and crying, and said she couldn't do that to herself, so I brought up the other option for punishment was still available. She bawled her eyes out the entire time while she cut her hair off, and ended up with a chin-length bob. I evened it out for her, of course. She sobbed for hours afterward and the friend told me I'd been too harsh and an idiot. Not the idiot. You handled this so well. You gave her really innovative and appropriate choices. She has to learn about consequences now, especially if you feel like she had no remorse. This will be difficult for a while. She may try to retaliate, but this will pay off in years to come. You're helping her become a better person even if it hurts now. Your friend is an idiot though. She doesn't understand effective parenting. Not the idiot 100%, and don't second-guess your parenting decisions because of a friend's opinion nor anyone else's. You're the parent, and you can't have dollaces or hands running around. I also hope you donated all that hair to kids who need it. You are the idiot. Revenge punishing isn't going to teach empathy. It will just make her resent you. While the punishment is fair, assuming you're okay with revenge punishment and not too severe, the one positive thing it does is make your other daughter understand you have her back, which is something. To be effective, punishments need to be natural consequences rather than simply imposed. Much like as long as sister doesn't want to do stuff because of her hair, the family doesn't either out of solidarity. Really? What you need to do is find out why your daughter thinks it's funny. A tween cuts off that much hair on her sleeping sister. That's not a prank. It's something that feels far more sinister or troubling, as in, take this child to therapy. When my wife and I got married, we had long discussions about our morals, how we wanted to raise kids, etc. We always agreed we would practice authoritative parenting and treat our kids with respect and kindness. We wanted them to feel safe talking to us and regulating their feelings, and we didn't want to teach them that just because someone bigger than you says to do something that you have to. All in all, I am extremely proud of the people our kids, now teen female and male, have grown to be. They're kind, studious, creative, empathetic, and wonderful people. However, like all people, they aren't without flaws, and sometimes there's friction, and lately my daughter has wanted more independence. Well, last weekend my daughter wanted to go to a party at a friend's house. My wife and I said yes. When she got home, my wife took her phone from her and went through her texts and photos to confirm she was actually at her friend's. I was livid when I found out, as this seemed like a gross invasion of privacy. We talked about it, and she said it wasn't a big deal, but she wouldn't do it again. So I thought it was a one-off, but yesterday my wife took my daughter's laptop and threatened to take the door from her room if she found out she was talking to boys. My daughter has never even been given a rule not to talk to boys, so this all seemed insane to me. Last night, again, we discussed why she was doing this. She said she just wanted more discipline in the house as our kids are too relaxed, but again said she would drop it. Well, now today my wife asked me to help take my daughter's door off, and I pulled her into our room to have a private conversation, and things got heated. I told her I felt she was being extremely irrational, and bullying our daughter and implementing insane standards they have never had to or should have to expect. So how is our daughter being punished for a rule that never existed? I threatened to leave her and take the kids if she didn't start reflecting on what she was doing and start respecting them as people again. She burst into tears, called me an idiot, and went to stay at her sister's. Her sister has also said, I'm an idiot. What's happening here? Edit, she's spent a bit more time with her sister lately, and I know they were raised Catholic, so maybe something there. Not the idiot. It seems like something rooted deeper in her own past experiences to make her do that. If she isn't treating the son the same way, she is definitely the idiot. Is there something she knows about the daughter that you don't? All of you need to have a real conversation. Treating the son the same way wouldn't make her not an idiot. Her behavior is abusive and controlling, and everything she does is just destroying any shred of trust her daughter has in her and will be pushing the daughter towards the very things she thinks she's protecting her from. Something is going on with your wife, but you're right to protect your children from her newly punitive and inconsistent behavior, not the idiot. Op. You might want to be sure both there's nothing medically wrong with your wife and that she hasn't seen something concerning going on with your daughter that you're simply not aware of. I'm just commenting based on your response about your Catholic sister-in-law. In some Catholic families, when their daughters reach a certain age, they immediately start judging them as potential sinners, hold them to a higher and more unfair standard than their brothers, and use any inkling of rebellion as proof of their wanting to be with boys, being impure. To some Catholic moms, there's nothing scarier than your teenage daughter getting pregnant. I may be reading too much into it, but I thought you might want to hear a different take on the situation. Either way, something's going on with your wife, and you're doing the right thing protecting your daughter from her irrational behavior. My best friend and I met in our early 20s. We were roommates and just hit it off and have been really close. Now we're 26 and 27 and living in other places, but still stay in touch and see each other a lot. She's like a sister to me, so naturally, I feel a bit protective. And that really kicked in last year when she met this guy. My friend has never dated much. She says she hasn't been interested. So although I thought it was weird that they seem to be becoming friends since he's 36, I didn't think much of it until her feelings very obviously started to grow beyond that, and it was mutual. She finally came right out and said that she thought she might love him, and I couldn't keep my mouth shut anymore. Is this not weird as heck to anyone else? A 10-year age gap when the youngest is 26. In 4 years, this guy will be 40. His own best friend is already in his 40s with the wife and kids. So now my friend has been inviting them to stuff too, so we're stuck hanging out with people almost twice our age. It seems so inappropriate and gross, and that's exactly what I told my friend. Of course, she said he's really sweet and a good guy and doesn't even act 36, and maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe there's a reason he's that old with no wife or kids. She also said his place was an absolute trash hole, and she helped him clean it, a great way to start off a relationship with him using her. When I told her this, She got super angry and said that I was being a witch. I'm jealous, blah blah. This was in person, so she stormed out, and we've had a few heated exchanges over text since, and she expects an apology. But I don't know why, if it's warranted. Everyone knows how toxic and even dangerous age gaps can be. I don't know why I'm an idiot for looking out for my best friend, but I can get why it must have been quite a blow from her side. Still, to me, if someone important to you is making a mistake and potentially getting themselves into a bad situation, you should say something. Right? You are the idiot. She's not a teen girl who can't make good decisions for her own life. She's an adult who can date and fall in love with anyone. It's not creepy. You're a little creepy for being so invested in her relationship. Have you tried being happy that she found someone who makes her happy? I doubt it. Op didn't mention if she had a boyfriend. She did mention that her friend didn't date much, so I'm curious if maybe she's a little jealous over her friend's relationship. Maybe she thinks she'll be less important to her now that her friend has a boyfriend, like Op has a crush on her. Maybe there's a reason he's that old with no wife or kids. OMG. This is what women constantly hear when they decide they don't want kids or aren't ready yet. If you don't follow society's plan for you and instead choose your own path, you somehow must be damaged. That is toxic. You're not looking out for your friend.